Hey barbecue family, by viewer request, today we're going to look at the iconic Weber Kettle against its larger, newer, and very popular brother, the Weber Summit Kamado. The Weber Kettle, with its very popular, very noticeable design, the oval shape, has been around for decades, and Weber has taken most of the best things that it's learned from years of experience with the kettle, and they've packaged it into the Weber Summit Kamado. The Weber Kettle comes in its recognizable round shape with an open design, and it's known for its simplicity and versatility. Just like the Weber Kettle, the Weber Summit Kamado also has the same shape and builds upon the simplicity and versatility that the kettle is known for. Let's run down some basic specifications for both. The kettle is available in 22-inch and 26-inch sizes. The Summit Kamado sits right in the middle of the two offerings of the kettle at 24 inches. The 22-inch kettle comes in with a cooking area of approximately 363 square inches, while the Weber Summit Kamado comes in at 452 square inches of cooking area. One of the big advantages of the Summit Kamado is that it is insulated, which means that it does a very good job of holding temperatures and burning charcoal at a very efficient pace, while the kettle is not insulated and is not nearly as fuel efficient as the Summit Kamado. Other advantages of the Summit Kamado is that the charcoal grate can be adjusted. You can place it at different levels inside of the Summit Kamado. It also comes with a diffuser plate that makes it ideal for smoking. So it gives the Summit Kamado added easy versatility right out of the box to make it easy for both smoking and grilling, although you can also do both smoke and grill with the kettle as well. The Summit Kamado also has a hinge that makes it easy to open and close the lid, whereas the kettle does not have a hinge. Both grills are extremely well supported by Weber. There are a ton of accessories, both made by Weber and third parties. There's probably more accessories for the Weber Kettle than any other grill available on the market. If there's something that you can do with the kettle, there's probably something available that will allow you to do the same on the Summit Kamado. So both products are extremely versatile in that regard. There's just a ton of different things that you can do with both in the realm of smoking and grilling. Lastly, there is a significant difference in terms of price. The Weber Kettle can be had for about $140, and then if you add more bells and whistles, the price goes up incrementally, whereas the Weber Summit Kamado, the version that doesn't come with the built-in cart, comes in at about $1,250. So there's quite a big jump when you go from the kettle to the Summit Kamado. Today we'll do a cook so you can see how these two function side by side. I have some pretty strong thoughts going in about who these grills are best suited for. Hopefully by the end of the video you'll have an idea of which one is best for you. So stick around. We're gonna put the iconic Weber Kettle up against its younger, very popular brother, the Weber Summit Kamado. In terms of the charcoal setup, both grills offer a lot of flexibility. To help contain the coals, I'm using for both my slow and sear accessories. You don't have to do that. You can use the baskets that come with both grills, or you don't have to use baskets at all. Just bank all of your charcoal to one side. Since I have the accessories for both, I like to use them, just like I said, mainly today to contain the coals into a nice tight fire that will help even more add to the way that they burn efficiently. Today I'm also using these hickory wood chunks that I got. They're made by Jealous Devil. And what's pretty cool about these blocks, as you can see, these two blocks are basically roughly the same size. So this will allow me to really get close to putting the same amount of wood inside of each smoker. So So we'll put this one with the Weber Summit Kamado, and then we've got this one for the Weber Kettle. Both grills are up over 400 degrees, which is where I want it. I really want them both to be at least 350. 400 is even better. I know the temperature will drop once I put the cold piece of meat on here. And if I didn't mention it before, we're doing spatchcocked chicken on both grills. I spatchcocked them last night, and then I also brined them. And then this morning I took them out of the brine, let them sit in my refrigerator for a few hours to really try to dry them out, get that skin as dry as possible. And then I sprayed both with duck fat, and today I'm seasoning them with Suckle Buster's chicken dust rub. We'll start with the kettle. And I've got it set up where the thighs are facing the heat, because it's okay for the thighs to get hotter, a hotter internal temperature than the breast. We're looking to cook this to 165 in the breast. It's okay for the thighs to get up around 175, 180. So hopefully to get a more even cook throughout, by positioning the chicken this way, that will promote even cooking. One of the questions that I'm often asked is, how accurate are the built-in thermometers? And notice we have a little bit more real estate on the Summit Kamado side. But getting back to that question about the thermometers, they're pretty accurate, but what you have to consider is where the thermometer is positioned inside of the grill. On the Weber Kettle, the temperature probe is located almost directly at the top of the lid, where the lid is located. So it's several inches above the grill grate. So it's giving you an accurate temperature reading based on its location inside of the grill, but it's not giving you an accurate reflection of what the temperature is at the grate level, because it's up considerably higher. Now over here on the Weber Summit Kamado, the built-in thermometer is closer to the grill grate. You see it's not nearly as high up in the lid as it is in the Weber Kettle, but it's still a few inches above the grill grate. So it's the same situation. It's giving you an accurate temperature reading of the ambient temperature at this level inside of the smoker, but the food is located down here somewhere. But you need to take that into account when you're looking at the thermometer, the temperature reading that you're getting on these built-ins. Once you get an idea of what the difference is from the location of the probe and the grate, you get an idea of what the difference in temperature is, then you'll always have like a rule of thumb, a benchmark to go on. To make it easier on myself, I like to use a wireless thermometer probe like this one. We're about 1 hour into the cook, and here's a look at the birds. This is the kettle side, and let's get a look over here at the Summit Kamado. So I really just wanted to get my potatoes off, and I'm going to wrap my potatoes in foil and let them cook the rest of the way that way. But here's the thing to take a look at. So a couple of observations. I've been trying to keep my ambient temperature at 350 or above. Of course, now it's dropped some since I opened the lid. But what I've observed is that I've had to do a little bit more tinkering on the kettle side, which is to be expected because it's not an insulated cooker like the Summit Kamado. So Had to do some adjustments up and down to keep it from dropping too far below 350 or getting too high above 350. So just a little bit more tinkering, not hard to do, just making some adjustments up at the exhaust. But let's take a closer look at the fuel, at the charcoal. So over here, this is the Weber Kettle, and you see there is still plenty of lump charcoal in here after 1 hour. Some of it is starting to ash over up here at the top, but you know, it's really doing a good job not burning through that lump too fast. And then for comparison, let me move the camera over here so we can get a look at the Summit Kamado over here. There's some smaller pieces up near the top that are ashing over, getting some flame since I've had the lid open. Does look like the level of fuel is a little bit higher than it is over on the kettle. But you know, to compare, they're both doing very well. So, you know, if you're thinking that the kettle is just gonna burn through charcoal at a ridiculous rate, that is not the case at all. Another observation, and something that I decided to do while I got the potatoes wrapped, I especially noticed that over here on the kettle side, on my legs, that the skin has definitely pulled back, as well as the fact that the chicken is darker on the kettle side than on the Summit Kamado side, even though the internal temperature on the Summit Kamado is actually ahead of the kettle. The internal temperature on the Summit Kamado is at 155, while it's at 147 on the kettle, but the kettle is getting pretty dark. It's getting darker than the Summit Kamado. So I wrapped the legs up in foil, and the more I think about it, I may actually put another piece of foil over the top of the chicken to keep it from getting any darker on the kettle. And I think it in large part has to do with, again, we just don't have as much real estate on the kettle as we do on the Summit Kamado. I can kind of put the chicken on the Summit Kamado version a little bit further away from the fire, and especially the legs over here on the kettle version were pretty close to the fire. So that's just another observation in terms of the amount of cooking real estate that you have to work with. Now, I could have done some other things. I could have just continuously rotated the bird like at 90-degree angles to try to even that out. Ultimately, because of the real estate, I think you just kind of have to keep a closer eye on things on the kettle, whereas you can kind of have more of a set it and forget it experience with the Summit Kamado. I think I will just go ahead and loosely cover the kettle side with foil to keep it from getting any darker. Summit Kamado side, I'm not very much concerned about that. I'm actually very pleased with the color. It's beautiful. So get this closed back up and we'll let you see how the finished birds turned out as we're getting pretty close to the finishing temperature. Both birds are now off of the grills and I've got them inside resting. But before we take a look at them, I just wanted to give you guys an idea of another comparison point. So we're at 2 hours and 10 minutes from when I first put the chickens on both of these grills. So I wanted you to see the amount of charcoal that's left. Over here, we're looking at the Weber Kettle, and it's basically just about burned all the way down. I mean, there's like one layer of coals left. There's a couple of big pieces over here at the front end that haven't caught yet. I'd say it's about 80%. 80% of what we started with has already burned down. There's about 20% left in the Weber Kettle. Now over here on the Weber Summit Kamado, I feel like there's like an additional layer of charcoal left before we get down to the bottom. From eyeballing it, I'd say that it looks like about 2/3 of the charcoal has burned burn. There's probably a third left. I kind of feel like there's enough fuel over here on the Summit Kamado to get me through. I think I could get through another 2 hours pretty easy with what's left here. Whereas on the kettle, we're probably looking at maybe an hour, maybe we could get up to an hour and a half, especially with these two pieces that haven't really caught yet. Just my rough estimation based on eyeballing it, nothing scientific. Would you like to join a group of people who love to talk about barbecue, support each other, share ideas about recipes, grills, smokers, and accessories in an environment away from Facebook? If this sounds like something that you'd be interested in, then go to backyardsmokemaster.com/community and I will give you more information about a new Backyard SmokeMaster community group that I am forming and how you can join us. All right, Janine. The moment of truth is here. Time for the taste test. So obviously I know which is which. But let me kind of give you the rundown. So we got another viewer request to essentially compare the Weber Summit Kamado versus the Weber Kettle.
Okay.
The question is, does one produce better food than the other? Another big factor is, the kettle can be had for about 140 bucks. The Summit Kamado currently going for like 1,250. So there's a significant price difference between the two. One of them cooked a little bit faster than the other, so I had to hold one in the Cambro for a little bit. A little bit. So there might be a little bit of an effect from that in terms of the skin, like right here, a little bit puffy in the skin right here.
Oh my goodness, that looks
good. Cut it right down the middle. We just got a nice big rush of juice. Okay, so that's from number one. And we'll call this one number two. Cheers.
Cheers. Do they both have the same rub?
They both have the same rub. It's the Suckle Busters. What is it called? Clucking Dust?
Mm-hmm. Clucker Dust.
Clucker Dust.
Chicken rub. That's so good. All right, I'll give you the big, look at me being so nice. You could have the big piece.
It's pretty clear there's a difference in the appearance.
Oh, for sure.
But I guess the question then becomes, is there a difference in taste?
Yeah.
And is there a difference like in the smoke flavor?
Yeah, this totally has a lot more smoke flavor. Like a lot more. It's interesting. Wow.
Now, as usual.
It's like night and day.
Wow, you think it's that different?
Yeah, I do.
Now, is that just because of the appearance?
No, it's about the taste.
Okay.
I wasn't born yesterday. Yeah. It's night and day.
Okay, Janine thinks it's night and day.
Absolutely.
I don't know that it's night and day.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, well, let's see what you think.
The problem is I can never really tell which smoker it came from, but I can tell the flavor profile between the two.
Okay, but which one do you prefer? Number one, which is closest to us, the lighter chicken, or number two?
I like the smoke from number two.
Okay.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's nice. It's just more, it's coming through more subtle to me. And this one is just coming through smoky and fine. And it's just a little less forward. This is like, it's all that for me. It's really good.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like the smoke.
Okay, so on a rating of 0 to 10, what do you give the smoke flavor for the one that you think is smokier?
I would say it's an 8.5. What I did like about this one is it was just super juicy. like just unbelievably juicy. This was not dry, but it did impress me with just how moist it was, even though it had been sitting in the camper.
What's your smoke rating on this one?
That's probably more like a 6.5.
Okay, 6.5.
Yeah.
Okay, and then just overall flavor,
That one.
experience. Okay, you like this one.
Yeah, I gave it 8.5.
So, okay, is your smoke rating the same as your overall rating?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I wasn't sure about that. Okay, well, which one do you think is the Weber Kettle, and which one do you think came from the Summit Kamado?
I don't know. I'm over however many we've done this. I never guess which one came from where, but I will say, I believe that this one came from the Weber Kettle.
Now, why do you think that?
Because I had to guess, and I always guess wrong.
So is this just, is this just some random
Yes,
guess? Like you have
I have no clue.
no thoughts as to why
No thoughts
you
as
would
to
pick
why.
one or the other?
No thoughts and no clue. I am randomly guessing, and I'm probably wrong.
Okay, well that's not really helpful.
How would I know?
Out of the two, which one do you think would produce a smokier chicken?
Well, I've already told you. I think it could be the Weber Kettle.
Okay, but you have no reason why.
No
This is
scientific
just
reason.
random.
This is just my gut, which is filled
Okay.
with chicken.
All right, well you are correct.
Finally. Yes.
I don't know why this is a victory, because you don't have any, any reasoning
Well,
for
I
your
do
pick.
sort of have some reasoning. You're not going to understand my reasoning, but my reasoning is that I just feel like the kettle is just it's more traditional. I feel like it's a simpler design, and I feel like it's tried and true, and I feel like if there was ever going to be a case to get a lot of smoke into something, I think it would come from the kettle, and that's just my gut feeling. So I can base it on what I believe. This is just, I don't know, it just wasn't bringing it as much, at least not today. It's very smoky. This one is really delicious.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't wait to put it into I chop it up and, put it into some kind of a chicken salad. It would really be good. Really good. Like a smoked chicken salad. I am all for this.
Okay, well, very interesting, right? Because
absolutely.
again, the kettle can be had for $140.
Yeah.
The Summit Kamado coming in at $1,250.
Yeah, well, I think your viewers should run and get the kettle because this is good. This is delicious. I think this is a good complimentary chicken, but if I only had one and I, needed to just get something that would do good results, consistent results, I would like that. It's funny though, because this gave me such a moist, you saw how all the juices,
Right.
So it does a good job. It keeps that moisture. It just didn't bring me the smoke flavor. This did.
Okay.
I mean, I could lick this up.
Oh my God. So again, once again, we do these tests, these blind taste tests, and I guess I come away a little bit surprised that I think in all of the tests that we've done, we've always preferred
Yeah.
not the Summit Kamado version, but
Yeah.
the other, whatever
Absolutely.
the other is,
Yeah.
which kind of flies in the face of how every time I come on here talking about how I think the Summit Kamado is an A+ cooker.
still is.
It's versatile.
It
You
still
can do
is.
everything
It
that you
still
want
is.
with it. But then when we do these
Taste
taste tests, it always comes in second. Now, again, I don't know that the difference, to me, it wasn't night and day.
It was.
As the way Janine described it.
It totally was.
But I do think that the kettle version was smokier. And the Summit Kamado,
Was
then
juicier.
the Summit Kamado version. Again, I don't know if the Summit Kamado was juicier
It was.
because it was held over longer, and and that does give the meat more time to settle. I mean, but it was pretty significant, you know, when we cut into the Summit Kamado.
Yeah, I mean, it just visually, it was a feast for my eyes, and I was all for it. And then when you cut this one, and then gave me the teeny tiny pieces, and then I managed to get a bigger piece, I really liked it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so, you know, again, some observations that I had during the cook. Again, I felt like fuel efficiency,
Sure.
the edge went to the Summit Kamado.
Absolutely.
Not that the kettle was just, you know, running through the fuel, but there was a significant difference, definitely more fuel left over on the Summit Kamado side than the kettle side. Also, during the cook, the Summit Kamado was more of a set and forget experience.
Sure.
I didn't have to adjust the temperatures. You know, once I got it locked in, it pretty much stayed between, I'd say, 350 and 360 throughout the cook. So I never felt like I needed to do any adjustments at the exhaust to the Summit Kamado.
Right.
On the kettle side, however, there was more temperature fluctuation happening. I got temperatures that went up as high as like 385 after I put the chicken on. And then I would make an adjustment because I was trying to get them to cook at a pretty even rate.
Which is why I think this one isn't quite as juicy as this one. I mean, you can even sort of feel it, but the flavor is ridiculously good.
When it comes to the question of, you know, which grill is right or best for you, I think it really comes down to preference. But again, you know, if you're just looking to get into barbecue, you want to get started at a low cost, the good old kettle, 140 bucks. I mean, you can see you may have to do a little bit more manipulation during the cook, but you can produce some food that is just as good, and in, you know, this case, in our opinion, even better than what we got off of the Summit Kamado. I think the advantage that the Summit Kamado gives is a little bit of an easier cook than the kettle. The kettle you have to pay attention, a little bit more attention to. You may have to make some more adjustments. The more you cook on it, the easier it will become. Summit Kamado, learning curve not as high, less that you have to do during the cook, significantly higher price. So those are just
fuel.
Less what?
Less fuel.
Right, yeah, the Summit Kamado, yeah, definitely burns charcoal at a more fuel efficient pace than the kettle. So there are some trade-offs from a pure, get some good barbecue that tastes good perspective. You can do just fine with the Weber Kettle. So let me know your thoughts. If you have an opinion, or if you're out looking to buy one or the other, which one would you go buy, or which one do you prefer?
Buy them both.
Buy them both. Love to hear your comments. Let us know what you would like to see us do more videos on. If you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Get out there, enjoy your grills and smokers. This is Kenyatta Robinson with my lovely wife, Janine. Thank you for tuning in to the Backyard SmokeMaster BBQ channel. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.